Well, g'day everybody and welcome back. I've decided that I might try and just fit a hydraulic clutch to basket case. Not that there's anything wrong with the cable clutch, just that I thought I might like to do that, as you do. Now, it's not a new thing. People have been putting hydraulic clutches on bikes for decades, including XS1100s, and there's several different configurations out there in terms of the slave cylinder. Someone has been recently advertising kits for sale on some of the XS11 social media sites. Now, I did a bit of digging around and I think that you could do it yourself at home with better gear for less money. Sorry if you're watching and you're the one who's selling them. The slave cylinders themselves that are being advertised are available widely online, anywhere from about $8 to about $20, depending on where you go. So I've ordered one of them. It hasn't arrived yet, but you won't know that because post-production, it'll be here. And then I started thinking about, okay, so I got one of those. Let's have a look at the master cylinders. The master cylinders that they're selling with the kit, a bit of a concern for me is that they're only about $47 for the pair online out of China. Where do you get kits for them? Where do you get seals for them? Where do you get levers for them? You know, they're the questions you need to ask. So I thought I'll just go and get one from a salvage yard, a used second-hand one that is OEM, and that is always a better option. I wanted it to match my brake lever, which I bought from Mostyn's, RAF up at Mostyn's Industries in Brisbane when I was first building the bike. And it looks a lot like a Nissan unit. It's not, it's a copy, but it looks a lot like one. So I thought I'd match that on the other side. So I got online to my favourite online salvage store, which is Statewide Cycle Salvages in New Jersey, and I found one. It's off a YZF750R. Of course, the lever that the assembly that is on the bike for the brake is painted gold to match the rims and the pinstripes and everything else. And the Nissan unit for the Yamaha is black. So I had to fix that. So I pulled it apart and scrubbed it up and cleaned it and painted it. So this is it now, resplendent in gold. Because Statewide Cycle Salvage ship all around the world, very professional, and it was clean of any residual fluid, so it's been cleaned out. Always good to just pop it apart anyway and check that very small hole that's in the bottom here, which is the compensation port, is clear before you put it together. I didn't bother pulling out the piston assembly. Let's just put faith in the fact that it's not going to leak. If I pull it apart, chances are it could leak. And of course it has the added advantage of having a clutch switch, so I can now wire that into my safety relay so I have neutral and clutch option for starting, which is handy sometimes. So my brief was I wanted it to look like the brake lever, had to have a remote reservoir, and be OEM. So if it's OEM, it means that I can go down to Yamaha and I can order a kit for this if I need to and get seals, and if it breaks a lever or something I can replace it. That's what you do. So yeah, go and get a salvage one. And it also, it makes sense. These are good quality parts. They're not going to sell you rubbish, and you're recycling. So I also obviously cleaned up the lever itself and polished it, because it had a rubber sleeve on here, which was a grip sleeve that had to go to match the other side. And I'll throw it all together now, and I think you'll find it looks perfectly awesome. And while I was on line, I found a rubber hose from Statewide Cycle Salvage as well, and this was off a 800C, a Honda. Most clutch hoses are steel with a bit of rubber on each end. This is rubber all the way, and it's plenty long enough that I can route it up under the tank and get it down to that slave cylinder. So I'm going to assemble the lever now and the master cylinder, and we'll get that ready to go on the bike. Et voila! We have one gold painted OEM Yamaha hydraulic clutch lever and master cylinder in place, and I think you'll find, well, I think you'll agree that it looks very much like the brake lever. Just got to make a bracket now to mount the reservoir somewhere safe, probably there, and tie that on, fit the hose and hook up the slave cylinder. Let's go check the mailbox and see if it's actually here. Seriously, China, get your shit together. That was ridiculous. If I had 20/20 hindsight, so what happened was I ordered it, it never showed up, and I kept contacting the guy on eBay, and he kept saying, give it another 3 days, give it another 3 days, maybe held up due to weather. Months. Anyway, I managed to get my money back on it, and I ordered another one from another supplier, again in China, but obviously a little bit more reliable, and it appeared. So this is it. It's very simple. It's just a very little hydraulic cylinder. Comes with, you know, a few different bits and pieces that I don't think we're going to need. Like that bit, this should be able to pull straight on. There's plenty of thread on this particular one, so we can cut that back to whatever length we need. And it's just got an M8 thread on the body to mount it. So let's have a look at what we've got to do to get that in place. I'm working at ground level, which is an odd one for me. I normally have it up on the lift, but I've got the Honda on there at the moment. I can't be bothered moving it off, to be honest. I don't think this is going to be that traumatic. We'll just pop this cover off and expose our clutch lever mechanism. So when we pull on the cable, that's what we want to try and reproduce. So let's get the cable out of there to start with, before we can sort of work out what we've got to do here. Now, we're going to have to run an M8 thread down into there, and I don't think that's going to be that difficult because the hole looks to be about the right size, and that would mean that this would still be able to pop back in if this all does go pear-shaped. But I'll get a drill and a tap and we'll try it. Am I going to be able to get that drill in there? Well, if I bend that out of the way. Oh, I tell you what, we'll go close. Bit of CRC. Good thing is that you're not going to get anything in your engine, so you don't have to worry about that. Just run a plug tap down. Yep, we're good. Let's get a bit of a clean. Seem to be successful enough. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is remove this little piece from the end and its locking nut and these two nuts. I think I'll need one on there because we won't be able to come from underneath because of the radius. So we're going to have to try and Get the shutdown on the top. Piss off, aeroplane. Any annoying buggers. Alright, so I'm going to also remove this banjo bolt and let's have a look. Alright, so it's very, very long. It's fair to say it's extremely long. Probably about as far as I'm going to be able to wind it. And that'll come down. I should be able to tighten that up. I've also gone to the liberty of routing the hose through, so that should go right about there. That'll be good. Okay, so I need to mark this because it's obviously going to be way too long. Like I said, that's about as low as I'm going to get. Oh, maybe not. I might get it a bit lower. You want to get it as low as you can so that you can always come back up a bit. There's plenty of adjustment. I've got thread right through, so it's nice and solid. Right, let's have a guess. Let's have a guess. I'm going to cut it right about here somewhere, and that should sort of put us in the ballpark. I'll just mark that. Give myself plenty of room. Always make it longer, can't make it shorter. I'm going to go chop that off and have another look. Alright, trick of the trade. I'll just chop that through with a hacksaw. Now, if you wind one of the nuts on first, it'll sort of clean the thread as it comes off, make life a little bit easier. Alright, so let's poke that down in there now and have a look. Alright, so that's sort of roughly where I had it before. I'll just try and get down a bit further. No, it's not where I had it before at all. That's about where I had it before. Right. So, doesn't look too bad. There's a little bit tight in there, but I'm hoping it'll sort itself out. Now, let's put the bits on the little actuator. Now, you know, with the benefit of 2020 hindsight, what I should have done was just bought a bloody linear actuator assembly online as well. When I was having a bit of a look around Andrew Hamilton's statewide cycle salvage store on eBay, I noticed there was one there off a Yamaha too. I can't remember what model. It was only like 20 bucks. I should have bloody bought that. But anyway, let's. This is. I think this is a pretty cool little setup, and my whole point of doing this was just to prove that you could do it cheap. You know me, it's all about cheapness. All right. Now we have one hydraulic actuator sitting in place in there. Now, it might be a bit tricky to adjust that. But what I think I need to do now is just plumb the bloody thing up, see if we can get some oil through it, and see if we can't make it work. Okay, does it work? Let's have a look. So it's all hooked up now and all bled. Does it work? Yes, it does. And then of course it relies on the spring to bring it back again. But you know, to be perfectly blunt, I think it's rubbish. I think the diameter of the piston is too small, and you don't get enough mechanical advantage on the hydraulics. And to me, it felt heavier than the cable, so I've gone back to the cable. Now it'll be the ratio between, you got to achieve the stroke, but you want to also have that mechanical advantage. You need to be going to a bigger diameter piston, which of course means a shorter stroke. You could go down smaller on the master cylinder, that would help, but For me, I'm just going to give it a miss. There are guys out there that have converted them over to these cheap Chinese cylinders, and I think that if you're prepared to wait bloody 3 months like I did for the bloody thing to arrive, or 60 something days it wasn't 3 months, but it was 60 something days for it to arrive. So there you go. OEM I think's the way to go, and there's you can buy OEM hydraulic clutch cylinders and adapt the cover, fit it on the side, and probably end up with a better job. But it was worth the experiment. Didn't cost a lot of money. I'm not overly worried about it. But there you go. Make up your own mind. But I'm going to give it a wide berth. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to stay tuned, like, subscribe and comment, and we'll be back with more from Andy's Motorcycle Obsessions. Bye for now.